I challenged 32 complete strangers to defeat a god in gaming's newest roguelite, and it was absolute chaos. Using 4 different weapons and 0 coordination? No. No! Here's what happened when we tried to take down 33 Immortals' final boss. By the way, I'm the passive-aggressive Canadian, and on this channel, we're obsessed with finding the most optimal strategies for gaming's toughest challenges. But relying on other players to do their job also isn't really our forte. Before we get into it, what exactly is 33 Immortals? It's a brand new early access roguelite that throws 33 players together to fight literal gods. Think Diablo meets Fall Guys, where the key to survival is working together with other players. You can do so with either a not so stealthy archer, a support mage of slowing, a tank that really should have a little bit more armor, or a speed demon with daggers for hands. In today's video, I'll test out all 4 weapons to show you exactly how well 32 strangers can coordinate. Or not. For my first attempt, I decided to try the Staff of Sloth, a weapon that hits hard but has the firing speed of my grandmother's dial-up internet. When we exit the starting area, we spawn into the Inferno map with several other players. Usually at the start of a run, you'll want to move together finding vases or chests for bones. But right from the start, we see little communication between us. We'll need these bones because they're one of the main currencies throughout the game. And we hit the jackpot when we stumble across a major bone chest. However, it's kind of linked to this elite here that we're going to need to take down before we can open it. Surprisingly, we all find ourselves back together really working at this guy's health. But just as we're about to take this guy down, the first catastrophic event begins. And suddenly, fireballs start raining down from the sky while we're still trying to take down this elite. But we finally managed to take it down. We grab the bones and see that torture chambers have opened up all across the map. Here's where the real challenge begins. These chambers are death traps where up to 6 players can fight waves of enemies and powerful elites. And already, the first player goes down. This is not looking good. The goal is to close all 12 chambers across the map to unlock a final Ascension battle. But with so many players dying off early, we'll be lucky to get through even half of them. Luckily, we managed to close ours, and as a reward, we get the loot chest by the exit. One is free where we find this burning femur for plus 5% damage while players are around us. This other chest on the other hand needs a key to unlock it, which we don't have at the moment. So, off to help out with the next chamber. But just as we arrive, the team inside had successfully cleared it, meaning we're on to the next phase. Now with 6 torture chambers closed, we're halfway there. The second half of these torture chambers have a difficulty spike though, and I am clearly not good with this weapon. You'll notice that I miss my shots. A lot. The real challenge isn't just the monsters though. It's figuring out what on earth my abilities do. When it was time to use my co-op power, I had no idea what it did, so I placed mine in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. This purple smoke cloud slows all enemies inside it. Not only that, when we see other players signaling for help, I completely ignored them, focusing only on the elite that was about to murder me. You see, the second half of the torture chambers have 2 elites that need to be defeated. Usually, you would want to gang up on one at a time so everyone's co-strike meter goes up and everyone gets higher crit chance as well. It only increases when you attack an enemy that has already been attacked by one of your teammates recently. And we're dead. Maybe it was for the better because we were not helping at all. But my allies managed to release me and get me rezzed, which means I'm on my second life, so my max health is horrible. Now that my team essentially cleared this room by themselves, we grab our loot and head out to the next mission. But after helping close the final torture chamber, here we go again. Now the Ascension battle is unlocked. For these final battles leading to the boss, all players need to get to one of 3 safe zones and survive the greatest challenge yet. Which we don't. Well, that went well. At least I know I should grab the biggest weapon possible to land my strikes. I mean, just look at the size of this. There ain't no way I'll be missing many of my attacks with this thing. Crap. Really? Hey, get back here. Alright, so the tank with the Sword of Justice. As most runs go, we start by finding bone containers for some cash flow, dodge some fireballs during the cataclysm, and make our way to our first torture chamber. But here's where things change up a little bit for us. Instead of the tank's secondary action being an attack, we get a block. And just look at this beautiful counter it does. After finding this out, I went ham with it. Counter after counter, I just couldn't get enough. And after taking down this torture chamber's elite, without so much as an emote, we all headed to the next torture chamber. It's like we were locked into each other's thoughts. Although we may have been more in sync, there was no saving me from taking a bunch of damage. I would need to get a little bit better at dodging if I am to ascend. But we prevail, and after grabbing our chest from the torture chamber, we get hit with a second wave of fireballs raining from the sky. After I ran past one of our fallen comrades, I found myself picking the wrong torture chamber to enter as all of my previous teammates went to another. So I decided to teleport to get back into the action. You see, this is a bone shrine. They are found outside each chamber entrance. These shrines are where you can use your bones to purchase a 25% heal, a teleportation stone, or a key for the locked chest inside chambers. So not realizing I already had a stone, I purchased one and teleported to the closest player to an open torture chamber. And talk about landing in hot water. This guy was fighting an elite. Luckily when you teleport, you gain temporary invulnerability. Very useful when you're teleporting directly into a situation like this. But we were ready for anything. We take it down, grab our loot, and complete the next torture chamber with them, bringing us to our final cataclysm. This is it. Ascension battle unlocked. With all torture chambers closed now, we need to make our way to one of the safe zones before fire engulfs us. Last time, I'd even make it to the elite spawning. But this time, with the Sword of Justice co-op power giving us a force field, 16 players left alive and 14 or so of them being here with us, we should have no problems here. That is, of course, until 3 different elites show up to take us down. And we can't forget the fire surrounding us, making this such a tight space to fight in. But one by one, we take them down and get ready to ascend. Woo! Our first ascension. Now with that out of the way, all that's left is a freaking god. So if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to show your support by giving the video a like. I heard each one lowers the boss's health by 1. Holy shit. We're gonna need lots of likes, it seems. So, our first time here. I'm thinking that we hack and slash the Mr. Lucifer here, dodge his attacks, and reap the rewards. Right? Well, not exactly. You see, anyone who's played a game with major raids like WoW or Destiny would understand that that would be too easy. I, on the other hand, haven't played those in quite some time and was absolutely lost on what to do here. So essentially, there are 3 potential spells that Lucifer can cast, all with different tasks that need to be done before time runs out. If you fail it as a group, everyone will be hit with unblockable damage. For this particular battle, we were supposed to stop Lucifer from casting his spell Eternal Sorrow. As he cries, glass tears will drop all over the battlefield the players must destroy. If even one remains, well, you know. Apparently, it takes a few more competent players to stop these spells. And after being rezzed and dying again, we do some quick studying on Lucifer before grabbing ourselves the Bow of Hope. Maybe being able to keep our distance will help us survive longer, right? Oh no. Ouch, 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 ouch. Oh, come on. Although keeping a distance from the enemies isn't always all that easy, I'm liking the feel of this weapon so far. Basically, we have 6 arrows at all times. Once we empty our quiver, or even before that for that matter, we need to call back all of our arrows. And yes, they do deal damage as they come back. Now as we finish torture chamber number 1, we grab our free chest for a relic and head outside to see where to go next. With most of the chambers already almost full, I figured we'd all start to make our way to one of the empty ones down at the bottom. Well, I got there. Where is everyone? I don't know if you noticed this about me, but I'm not really the most patient person when it comes to video games. Screw it, I'm going in. What's the worst that can happen with one player soloing a torture chamber? My co-op power has been ready since I left the last chamber, but it takes at least 2 other players to activate. Finally, some backup. There we go. Pretty much a perfectly placed archer co-op power. Now that we're getting a grasp on how the game works, it would be nice if some of the lobby would stay alive also. I mean, we're only just getting to the second cataclysm, and we've lost over half of the players already. But we have a mission to complete, so we arrive at one of our phase 2 torture chambers, and immediately get reminded how important dodging is. No, this isn't how we go out. No! Okay, that was way too close. And after some much needed healing, we make it to the Ascension battle. This time, arriving with some actual coordination. Taking down the 3 elites, one by one. After ascending for the second time and knowing more about how the Lucifer battle works, we begin to feel a little bit more confident that we can do this. That is until we notice that we're only 8 players left. So, off to the races as they say. At least we have the best of the lobby with us. And now that we know how to counter Lucifer's spell Eternal Sorrow, we might be able to do this. Oh, well, that's not Eternal Sorrow. So during this particular spell, Last Betrayal, Lucifer summons 3 blue elites. We are tasked with taking them all down before he finishes casting the spell. Of course, not knowing this, I just kept trying to take him down little by little. And just like with Eternal Sorrow, if you don't manage to complete the task at hand, we all take unblockable damage. To make matters worse, my capture card decided to malfunction after he started to cast it again, meaning I had to go AFK to fix it. Although we didn't die during that time, there was no way we were going to be able to take down Lucy. And with only 2 of us remaining, we fought valiantly until our time inevitably came. With yet another failed attempt, we hit up the compendium to find out how to deal with this new spell. Now with 2 of Lucifer's 3 spells locked down, we should stand a chance this run. As long as we can find a way to work together, that is. And actually, right off the bat, we see a leader starting to emerge. Over 10 of us ended up answering a call to assist a group of players fighting an elite linked to a chest. This run, we're playing with my personal favorite, the Daggers of Greed. Very fast with super high DPS, these daggers play perfectly into my personal playstyle, and having extra mobility with a long-range heavy attack is definitely going to help us with avoiding taking hits. Not only that, but our heavy attack makes us invulnerable during its animation. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. We res one of our fallen friends. Remember this guy Nate for later. After making our way inside the first torture chamber, we start to make quick work of the smaller mobs. By the time the first elite arrives, we'd bunched most of the mobs into the middle of the chambers, so this player's arrow co-op power goes ham on all the enemies. And just as things were starting to look good for this room, no! Nate! Man, I guess I'm not the only one who runs into projectiles all the time. After that devastating loss, we get a massive 500 damage plus hit off the elite, finishing off this torture chamber. As what's left of the group steps outside to heal up, I start checking the map to see where we're most likely to head to next. And I noticed one of the torture chambers had a solo player inside. I decide to quickly break off from the group, trying to get there before it's too late. Luckily, a couple of players teleported there before me, but not before the other player got taken down. Turns out things weren't going so well in this torture chamber. We managed to get the downed player up while another player died. But at least with the room starting to fill with other players, we start gaining a footing. With just the elite left now, we all start popping off our co-op powers. For the Daggers of Greed, the co-op power is a little different than the others. Instead of shielding or dealing straight damage, the daggers actually give a buff to the two players that activate it. Both players will receive increased damage for a short period of time that scales with the amount of bones that each of them have. All that while also producing bones off of any target hit during that time. Hence, the greed aspect of them. So after taking down this elite, we head outside to find players gathering to be healed. But this time, it wasn't going to be that easy. The mobs outside were aggressively spamming fire around the bone altar, making it extremely difficult for us to heal without taking damage. And as most players started to give up and move on, I stayed back as another one of us fell. This time, after rezzing the player, we got a thanks emote. And this got me thinking, where on earth are these players finding all these emotes? All I see is this wheel showing some pretty generic ones. But we've seen players use aid me, now healing and thanks. There's gotta be something I'm missing. Anywho, we arrive at our first torture chamber of the next phase with a small group, and we absolutely demolish both elites inside. Feeling pretty good about how easily we pulled that last one off, we gather outside and then another freaking emote. Clearly this guy wants us to go to the northern torture chamber, but how is he doing that? So as we all head over, I start checking the emote wheel once again. Finally, I'll now know how to find these next time. And it's already proven to be useful as we all show up to this next torture chamber. And after once again taking down the elites one by one, we find ourselves entering the Ascension battle phase. This time, a player calls out to go to the safe circle to our left, which makes it so that most of the lobby comes over to our circle. And with all players firing off their co-op powers when the three elites arrive, we take each of them down one after the other, bringing us straight back up to face Lucifer himself. Fortunately, we have a much better understanding on what to do this time around. Attack Lucifer until he starts casting his spell, and deal with said spell. Unfortunately, however, even though we know what we're doing here, it might take more than 8 players to accomplish it. And after failing to stop Lucifer's spellcasting over and over and over again, we finally get defeated. But hey, at least we came in first place. I have since beat Lucifer plenty of times, gathering keys for the second area. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know in the comments if you want to see a follow-up to 33 Immortals. But in the meantime, YouTube thinks you would really enjoy watching this video on screen now. Go on, don't be shy. Take it easy.